Well, good morning. Welcome to Unit 2 of W131. Can you believe it? So by now, of course, you've turned in your papers, and they're looking pretty good. I've already done some grading. This seems to be a very strong class. All right. That said, I have a lot of papers to grade, so it's going to take me a full week to get them all back to you. But please do be checking your grade book. A couple of things. I always make comments right directly in the grade book, right? And then you can always go to your paper. I will indicate to you if I've returned your paper or not, okay? So I shouldn't say you can always go to your paper. If you've gotten 100, I probably haven't returned your paper, all right? This memoir is not the world's hardest assignment, and so I expect usually to see a lot of very good papers, so don't necessarily expect to get yours back, okay? If I send it back, when you go to your grade book, see your grade, I'll tell you, I'll say, hey, your paper's attached. Be sure to look at it, and when you look at your paper, you'll often see comments and the track change features of Word, and sometimes I actually embed a MP3 file, a podcast, right next to the title of the paper. All right, and I'll tell you that. I'll tell you all these things. So, like if you got 100, I'll say, hey, good job. You know, your paragraphs were good. Your writer's memo was terrific. I did not return your paper. Okay, project over. Congratulations. Move on. Okay, if you got an 85, 80, something like that, I probably did return your paper. I'll tell you. And then when you get your paper, then you'll be able to see my comments on it, what I said, and I'll also indicate, you can see for yourself, look next to the title of your paper on your paper, and you'll see that I've embedded an MP3 file with some audio comments, okay? I don't mark every mistake. I don't use a red pen, all right? This is a college class, all right? You're expected to know pretty much how to write by now, okay? That said, this is a long unit, and it's a different unit. It's much different than the first unit. We're kind of getting more into the college criteria, more into critical thinking, and we're still sticking with visual rhetoric. So don't forget, you know, we started off with the PowerPoint. It's a visual rhetoric, and the goal here is that we're living in the internet age, and it's much different than when most of us went to high school and learned about writing stuff. Nowadays, we're writing for the web, and we're reading from the web, all right? So this isn't just a writing class. This is a reading class. This is a critical thinking class. So we're doing a lot of web material all the time. You know, it's also an internet class, like duh, you know. So I'm really happy you all are taking it over the internet because I like teaching in this fashion. And I like teaching about writing and reading vis-a-vis the internet. Another thing that's slightly different about this unit is we're doing analysis. We're doing less reporting. In your memoir, you kind of reported on your life. This time you're going to look at something else and you're going to analyze it. You're going to say what it means. That's what analysis is. Analysis can be looked at in several ways, but essentially it's breaking down something into its component parts and then putting it back together again. All right. So analysis looks at the individual pieces of something and says what they mean individually, and then says what the whole means. All right. And in this Blackboard class, I've given you some very good examples of what I'm talking about, and I'll get to that in a minute. One of the places we're going to start with blogs. And if you've never heard of a blog before, blog's very similar to Facebook, social networking, okay? A blog's not much different. It's a little different. It's like you have web pages, which are, you know, the predominant feature on the internet. And you also have social networking, which is Twitter and Facebook and a few other things like that. And then you have blogs, which kind of link the two together, all right? And the goal here, once again, is to help you understand information when you see it and read it over the web. And this also helps to prepare you, maybe, for jobs in the marketplace. Every job today is going to use a computer, all right? There's nothing, you know, you're going to college, you get a pretty decent job, all right? So there's nothing that's not going to use a computer. So this is all should be very, very useful material for you. So that said, let's see what my notes tell me. The first week, week 6, is discussion-oriented, as well as week 7 is discussion-oriented. And this week, your discussion is about women in advertising. All right, how does advertising particularly affect women? It also affects men in terms of body images, body issues, body weight issues, those kinds of things. You know, what's the definition of beauty? Who defined that? Right, vis-a-vis your body. All right, and this is very visual type of thinking, and that's what I'm trying to concentrate in this course, is get you to think visually. So that's sort of the purpose of this week 6 discussion, is to cause you to some critical thinking about how you judge things that you see, including people, all right? That's one of the discussions. The second discussion is a little more complex and takes a little bit more preparation. Most of you have not heard of this, although those of you who have military experience may have. There are things called MIL blogs, MIL being short for military, and these are blogs that are used primarily by military people as a social networking tool, all right? And Gary Trudeau, the very, very famous cartoonist of Doonesbury, the creator of Doonesbury, in his effort to support the troops, has created this kind of social networking tool for military personnel and anybody, okay, to show what life in the military is really like, particularly to show what life in a combat zone is like, all right? And these are very, very personal entries on a military blog, and you're invited to join. So I have, you're going to have to study up on this. It's not readily apparent how to do it. You're going to have to go to your table of contents for Unit 2, and you're going to have, I put some Roman numerals in there. I've kind of rearranged it this morning. Item Roman numeral 2, letter B, as in boy, helps you prepare for the MIL blog discussion. You have to get prepared. You have to be able to find the blog and know how to use it. So the first thing you have to do this week, you have 2 things to do this week, is go ahead and join the discussion on women in advertising, all right? And that's item Roman numeral 2, item A in the table of contents of this unit, okay? Get in that discussion, get going there, and I'll join it later on in the middle of the week. And then item 2B is a document on how to prepare to enter the MIL blog discussion. Okay, you must read that document or else you won't get the MIL blog discussion. So please get in there. And every student who has successfully completed this discussion has raved and raved and raved about it. All right, it's one of the highlights of the class for students who get it. Okay, so please, I really, really encourage you to get in there. And even if there's a little bit of struggle, don't forget learning takes place at the point of friction. That's what, if you take my W133 class, we'll actually discuss this more. But learning is not meant to be easy. If it's easy, you're not learning anything. If your classes are easy, you're not learning anything. Now, by the same token, they can't be so hard that it's distressful. You have to have kind of this incremental curve, right? It's called a learning curve, all right? And it's supposed to kind of get incrementally more difficult, but not at such a pace that you fall off the curve, all right? So that's what's going on here. So if it feels a little hard at first, that's fine. That's good. Good news. Okay. That said, the big writing project is due to peer review on March 12th. I'll make peer review work more easily this time. We're all learning our way through Blackboard Learn, okay? So I apologize for that. But I've been getting really good reviews on peer review so far. In your writer's memo, I'm seeing lots of good things, okay? So, you know, I know it doesn't work well for everybody. I do understand that. So, but you're turning in what's called a rhetorical analysis. And once again, you get to choose your topic, okay? You get to write about what you want to write about. But I give you some clues, help you about that, all right? But if you want to see what I wrote as an example for this, you can go to item 5A3. That's my example of what you're going to be writing about by March 12th. And you can also go to 5A4, which is the student examples from last semester about what they wrote about. So you're basically going to be able to choose a blog and analyze it. And I'll tell you more about that, excuse me, as the unit unfolds. So hey, I blabbed on long enough. If you have questions, you know how to get a hold of me. Please make sure you're reading your mail regularly, your announcements regularly, and please check your gradebook regularly. So hey, thanks for listening to this.